The American presidency is built upon a foundation of trust. Citizens place their faith in the president, believing he will uphold the Constitution and defend the rights of all. This sacred oath, taken upon assuming office, is not a suggestion but a solemn vow. However, recent statements by former President Donald Trump have cast a shadow of doubt on his commitment to this foundational principle. In a revealing interview with NBC's Meet the Press on May 4, 2025, Trump expressed uncertainty regarding his obligation to uphold the U.S. Constitution, specifically concerning due process rights for immigrants. When pressed on this crucial matter, his response was alarmingly nonchalant. "I don't know, I'm not a lawyer." This startling admission sent shockwaves through the nation, raising profound questions about Trump's understanding of presidential responsibility and the very essence of American democracy. The Constitution is not a menu from which a president can pick and choose. It is the bedrock of American governance, a document that clearly defines the limits of power and guarantees fundamental rights to all. For a president to even suggest uncertainty about his duty to uphold this sacred charter is deeply troubling. Trump's casual dismissal of his constitutional obligations reveals a dangerous disregard for the rule of law. It suggests a willingness to place personal beliefs and political expediency above the very principles that underpin the nation he once led. This cavalier attitude towards the Constitution has manifested in a number of controversial actions during his presidency, leaving a legacy of legal battles and a nation grappling with the fragility of its democratic institutions. The case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia stands as a stark illustration of the potential consequences arising from a president's disregard for the judicial branch. Garcia, a Maryland resident, became ensnared in the Trump administration's aggressive immigration dragnet. Wrongfully identified as a member of the MS-13 gang, Garcia was deported to El Salvador without a trial, a harrowing ordeal that exemplifies the human cost of flawed policies. His case ultimately landed before the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court. In a resounding victory for the rule of law, the court ruled in April 2025 that the Trump administration must facilitate Garcia's return to the United States. This ruling, a clear affirmation of the judicial branch's power to check executive overreach, should have marked the end of Garcia's ordeal. However, Trump's response to the Supreme Court's decision was nothing short of defiance. He argued that the court's use of the word facilitate did not explicitly require him to request Garcia's release from El Salvador, a stance that has drawn sharp criticism from legal scholars and human rights advocates. Compounding the issue, El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, has indicated no intention of honoring the Supreme Court's ruling and releasing Garcia. This blatant disregard for a Supreme Court ruling strikes at the very heart of American democracy. The principle of judicial review, enshrined in the Constitution, empowers the judiciary to interpret the law and hold the other branches of government accountable. By refusing to fully comply with the court's ruling, Trump sets a dangerous precedent, one that undermines the separation of powers and threatens to erode public trust in the judicial system. Throughout his political career, Trump has consistently advocated for hardline immigration policies, often employing inflammatory rhetoric and questioning the practicality of affording due process rights to immigrants. This stance aligns with his campaign promise of mass deportations, a pledge that resonated with a segment of the electorate but raised serious concerns among legal experts and human rights groups. In public statements, Trump has expressed skepticism about the feasibility of providing due process to millions of immigrants, citing concerns about national security and the potential strain on resources. He has even gone so far as to suggest that his administration's attempts to deport alleged Venezuelan gang members without hearings could supersede due process requirements, a position that has drawn condemnation from civil liberties organizations. Trump's questioning of due process for immigrants represents a fundamental misunderstanding of the Constitution. The Fifth Amendment clearly states that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. This fundamental right, a cornerstone of American jurisprudence, applies to all persons within the United States regardless of their immigration status. By advocating for policies that circumvent due process, Trump undermines a core tenet of American democracy. The principle of due process ensures that individuals are treated fairly by the government and have an opportunity to defend themselves against accusations. To deny this right to any group particularly one as vulnerable as immigrants, is to erode the very fabric of a just and equitable society. Section 4. Executive Power Play, Legal Counsel and the Limits of Authority. In this section we delve into the potential constitutional crises that arise when public opinion clashes with the balance of power. How do leaders navigate these turbulent waters? What role does the public play in shaping the course of governance? Join us as we explore these critical questions.